And I'm done.
Yeah, and you can play it at like.
Good to see you. Even better in like an hour. It was great. Yeah.
I know that. You got Richard.
I'm not.
And he's already getting. That's it. He's already getting. I want to do it.
Exactly. Justin. We purposely looked at that. That's right.
It's not 5 o'clock yet.
Two minutes off.
We can get instruction now. 4:50.
Is that today?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Texas?
You guys with a lot of money, both blowing it out the back end. As fast as they can.
Good for them. It's jealous. You are. It's nice to see you.
Okay. You might send back. There's nothing I can see here. Happy New Year. But they're not all of you speak there. Based on what your name you got to.
It's Benton.
It's a big, but that's only.
That's wasn't any corrections.
Well, they did not say. It's only they're behind you. It's doing whatever they do.
How are you?
This thing says.
Where are you going? Good. You on the break?
It's a good idea. That's my process.
The first time. Yeah, I told them.
Yeah, the name, it's just the name of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
That quick.
Call meeting to order. Can we stand for the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call, please?
Okay, Mr. Craig,
Present.
Mr. Mount,
Here.
Mr. Boss.
Here.
Mr. Molitor,
Here.
Mr. Ginling,
Present.
Mr. Whitmore,
Here.
Mr. Granger, Mr. Doherty,
Present.
and Mr. Berger.
Here.
Thank you. For the purposes of the agenda and the action items, we do have a quorum. Kevin, is there any changes or additions to the agenda as presented to the public this week?
No, sir.
All right, saying that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I so move.
Mr. Muller, seconded by Mr. Voss. Anybody against it? Hearing nothing, motion passes 6-0. Sorry. Next, the approval of minutes, December 5th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I need to approve the minutes as presented.
All right, so moved. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Muller. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the motion passes 6-0. Before we get into the action items, do we need to swear in the new board member? for voting, or, we did that the last time, I'm not sure.
Then we should, I mean, we can.
Sorry,
No, you're
you're
fine.
my second arms.
No.
Well, just, I mean, sure, vote.
I do feel like there's a new person here.
Well,
Got it.
board.
Hmm?
While we're waiting, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody, please?
My name's Michael Ginlin. I live up in Viera. I moved here in 2004 from Texas, Indiana, Ohio area. Background's basically banking and mortgages. Now I'm retired, semi-retired. And I'm just enjoying life.
Pilot?
Not a pilot. I took a few lessons, but never got off.
Ground, but never.
We have people that can help you with that.
Fantastic. Well, again, thank you. Welcome to the board, and thank you for volunteering your time to join us here. It's a great endeavor. All right,
Rather than do this echo back thing, why don't we just have him raise his hand and read from? Is that okay for everybody?
That's fine.
Sometimes.
Don't give them back that computer either.
I solemnly swear to affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, that I will well and faithfully perform the duties of a board member of the Titusville-Cocoa Airport Authority, and that I will utilize my best effort, judgment, and governance of the Titusville-Cocoa Authority and the discharge of my duty thereto. So help me God.
All right, that's the first test. Thank you.
You're here for life. Yeah, action items, please.
Yes, sir. First up, we have our lease termination and property transfer agreement with Shelter for improvements located at Arthur Dunn Air Park and Space Coast Regional Airport. I would like to do a quick overview of the leaseholds, the appraisals, and then the revenue analysis, then turn it over to Attorney Byrd to actually review the document, who's the author of it. If that's okay.
Great.
All right, so the Shelter leaseholds, again, we kind of discussed this at the last board meeting, but I thought it'd be good if we go over it. At Arthur Dunn Airport, we have 3 T-hangar buildings with 38 units. The current agreement with options runs through 2044. At Space Coast, we have 1 T-hangar building, which is T6 with 14 units. Current agreement with options runs through 2043. And then also at Space Coast, we have 2 Porta hangars that are currently owned by the Airport Authority. Their current agreement with options runs through 2042. We just had a market value of leasehold interest completed by Andy Magenheimer with Slack, Johnson, and Magenheimer. For Arthur Dunn Air Park, those units valued at $1.31 million or $35,000 per unit. At Space Coast, T-hangar Building 6, $650,000 or $46,000 per unit. And at again, Space Coast, our current hangars, $370,000 or $28 per square foot. We thought it was a good idea to actually break it down per unit per square foot to show the value. We obviously are not going to build for that amount of money. The appraised value by Mr. Magenheimer was $2.33 million. We did negotiate a Shelter purchase price of $2 million. We provided a deposit with our letter of intent, as we discussed last board meeting, $400,000. So that would leave our balance of $1.6 million. We're presenting a grant tonight from FDOT for $640,000. And then we're planning on financing the project at $960,000. We prepared a revenue projection at 95% occupancy rate, which is in your packets. If you're look at, I know I've met individually with all board members, with the exception of you, Michael. But so quickly, just kind of running through it on year 1 at the 95% occupancy rate, we would bring in $494,638. We did a 18-year revenue projection with a 3% escalation. For all 3 airports, those came in at $11.4 million. We also ran expense projections at $46,302 per year. So that's our ground lease finance costs, insurance, repair, and maintenance, and utilities. So over the 18-year duration of the agreement, $6.4 million. So basically it would be net positive on year one. The return for year one is $28,336, or by year 18, a little over $5 million. So this is I think a great investment for the airport authority. So kind of return over the 18-year period is a little over $5 million. And if we did nothing with shelter, it would be a little over $2 million. So I don't know, Adam, if you want to kind of review the agreement.
Sure. And it's an interesting transaction because it's one that you don't see very often other than at airports. And we're obligated by the FAA to take into account the true value of what's being received by the authority, which isn't really just the improvements, because we have a reversionary interest that you all know or might know, which means that every improvement that's constructed by a tenant on airport property, since we do long-term leases, at the termination of the lease becomes our property. So the tenant constructs a building, it's great, fantastic building, they're in there for 50 years or 30 years or whatever the lease allows. When that lease expires or terminates, we become the owner of the building. At that point, what that means is, depending on its condition, we can lease it along with the underlying realty and we make money. And all airports have this right. It's a right that's provided by federal law. And what that means in this type of transaction is, number one, when the lease is terminated, the improvements become ours anyway, although we don't let that just sit under the law, which it does. We have that in the draft documents. And then secondly, we aren't getting or don't necessarily have to pay the full value of the improvements. Rather, we pay what's left of the lease. So it's accounting more or less for our reversionary right. So in 18 years, if those buildings would revert to us anyway, we don't pay the fair market value of the building. We determine what the value is that we're getting. If it's amortizing the existing value of the building or its usefulness with depreciation over the remaining duration of the lease, the remaining term of the lease, fine. But we have to account for that. In other words, we can't just say, okay, they paid $2 million for these hangars. We pay $2 million for them. And we did exactly that. And that's what you saw, I think, I don't know if Dr. Byers' calculations went around, but that's not the easiest calculation to do, but it's required. So that's where we arrived at this number, which does take into account the useful life of the building, their current condition, their condition over time, and most importantly, the remainder of the lease. So when the lease is terminated, we have to take that number into account. What is that value that we're actually getting? Being mindful of our reversionary interest at the end of that. I think it was 18 years. I forget how long
It is. Yep.
So that was the first thing, was just to confirm it and kind of make sure that the documents reflect that. Terminating the lease is easy enough, but then we need to account for the acquisition price of the improvements to the property, which we did via promissory note. So we have all of the standard language essentially for taking over what is a leased improvement. So there are subtenants for each of these T hangars. And so you need assignment of leases, indemnity, and all those things that typically go along with the transfer of the building, together with making sure that we've got those payment over time terms, the business terms of which were vetted by Dr. Byers and Kevin, I know. And so those are the two transaction documents. It's the termination of lease agreement that contains language, I would say atypical of a termination of lease, since it talks about how we're going to transfer what's being transferred and the rights and obligations of the parties. And then we have a corresponding promissory note that says, here's what we owe, which I think it's $1 million down and $1 million over time, 12 months, 9% interest, 12 monthly payments. And so those are essentially the transaction documents. I think it's kind of important since it's, again, sort of an unusual transaction that you see really only at airports.
But we were actually going back and forth on using shelter promissory note versus our line of credit. And we opted for we're going to use our line of credit for it. So,
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve? We'll have discussion after that. Motion to approve the lease termination and property transfer agreement between Shelter Dunn LLC and Shelter Space Coast LLC and the authority as presented.
I move to approve as presented.
Moved by Mr. Mull. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Voss. Discussion, any questions?
Questions? Do you anticipate any staff increase Yeah, we took a long, hard look at that. Internally, administratively, I say, we lease property, that's what we do. So adding this to our repertoire assets, no problem. There's going to be a transition period, and Chrissy and I are actually working on that now. Maintenance wise, I think we're good. It's what we do. Again, Roger and I talked about that. But one of the things I would really like us to look at is adding a facility and assets manager. It seems like we're unearthing stuff every day, and I'd like to start getting ahead of these things and getting programs and funding put together. So as far as I'm concerned, that would be the only staffing change I would look towards. But right now, no, we're good.
Whitmore.
I had a big time wading through these documents on this, and there are some contradictions in there, and I'm going to limit my comments to just one that I found particularly troublesome. This is in the lease termination agreement on pages 52 and 53, and it regards the end of the lease. And it says ownership of subject improvements will revert to Palm Beach County. So while we're generous, I don't think we're that generous, and I just want to make sure that that is corrected in the final document.
Yeah, that was in the Magenheimer appraisal. Yes.
Yes.
I've already outreached to Andy. He's going to take care of it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I could go on.
Talked about that.
Yes, we did.
Other questions or discussion? Kevin, I know we talked, but can you just quickly explain how the rental agreements will transfer into the authority based on their present value and what your plan is?
So our plan is to just adopt the shelter rent roll as it exists today and move those forward throughout our budget cycle. As we get into analyzing our budget and preparing the budget for the authority, that's when we'll take a real hard look at them. But as of today, we're going to keep the rates where they're at and analyze it and capture all the costs and see what we can do.
Okay, and just so we're all on the same page, the square footage, the price per square foot is different than what
It is. It's a little bit higher. We have the rent roll. We've analyzed it. Christy and I spent a lot of time on it. They charge a CAM fee, which adds $80 to $100 a month. So we're going to look at that and see what we can do. But it's a great acquisition. I mean, we've talked about the authority needs to generate more revenue. We certainly can't build them for this amount of money, and I don't know. I think it's a good program for us.
Okay.
I appreciate your
and
support.
the last question I have is, and maybe it's more from Justin, and I know you say that there's no more effort, but I would say, for needed right now, maybe a facilities manager, but from a pure maintenance standpoint, do we have the ability to take on all those?
Yeah, those hangars are in excellent shape. They've been well taken care of. I think
Do you have a plan to ensure that they stay that way?
so we're gonna go through and inspect them one by one and then address the other issues. And we're gonna keep doing our annual inspections, and as we find stuff, we'll fix stuff.
Okay.
And we have a good contractor now on board too, that seems to be working out quite well. So I'm very happy with it.
Was the CAM included in the revenue stream?
No, we left it out.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Call the question. No. Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor of the lease termination and property transfer agreement as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion passes 6-0. For all your efforts, Jeff.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate your support.
Next one, please.
All right, this one should be an easy one. We have a FDOT grant agreement, associated resolution in the amount of $640,000 for the acquisition of the shelter improvements located at Arthur Dunn Park. They've offered $640,000 towards the purchase of the leaseholds. Kind of shows you what sort of relationship we have with FDOT. This was not in the program, and they really jumped through some hoops to really help us. So we're recommending approval and happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement as presented. So, Mr. Whitmer, second by Mr. Boss. Is there any discussion or questions?
So we don't have to do anything, just receive the money. There's nothing special we have to do.
No, we just have to pay for them, show that we paid for them, provide an invoice, get the $640,000 back, and then do project closeout. So
They don't have any rights to anything.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor of the FDOT Public Transportation Grant Agreement as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes 6-0.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, next up, we have our truest line of credit, requesting approval to authorizing the acceptance of the proposal from the Truist Bank to increase our revolving line of credit to for ongoing capital projects. We currently have the line of credit at $1.5 million. We do not owe any money on it. We've always used it just for short-term uses and always paid it off. We have big capital projects coming up with runway 1836, our new air traffic control tower, Challenger Road extension, Merritt Island improvements as well. So we've spent a lot of time studying cash flow analysis, and this is the number that we're going to need to kind of balance our books while we're going through this project. The proposed interest rate is the daily SOFR, which is right now hovering at 4.28%, plus the 1.6. So the estimated 5.9% for the interest rate. The SOFR seems to be coming down. Our current line of credit is around 7%. So this is a little bit better for us. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
So most of this will be revolving fund. I mean,
Yes.
we'll pay and then we'll get the money back.
Yes, sir.
Will there be some, like on the road extension, that will remain on the line of credit?
We're hoping not. That's not the plan. Again, it's just to help us in between. We're expecting some pretty beefy pay apps from the runway and the tower. So this will kind of help us in between. So the idea is to not use financing really, except for the hangars, which we figure 3 to 5 years and we'll pay them off on the line. But this is really about capital projects.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the proposal from Truist Bank as presented?
I so move.
By Ms. Muller, second. Second by Mr. Boss. Any other questions, comments, discussion?
The Truist offer us a fixed rate on the hangar loan?
They did, but we felt that we should just really use our line. We didn't want, multiple things going on. And we've been very successful with the line of credits, and we just wanted to keep going down that path.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the approving the proposal from Truist Bank to increase the revolving line of credit to $4 million for working capital and short-term financing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes 6-0. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you again. Tonight, we are pleased to present a lease agreement with High Wing Flight Training Incorporated, which will be owned and operated by Daryl Gordon. I'm sure most of the board members know Daryl. The lease agreement includes Suite 4, which is right behind us, the ramp and vehicle parking spots for the operation. Daryl's group will be utilizing space to run their flight training operations, tie-down leasing, and their future plans include a 135 certificate. Angie, his partner, is here. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or not. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Angie Murphy.
The term of the lease is 5 years, no options, no extensions. We also, like many of our lease agreements, put in an option to terminate by either party with 90 days notice. The rent schedule, again, is for 5 years. The first year is $54,000. Year 2 is $59,400. Year 3, $62,376. Year 4, $65,484. Year 5 is $68,760. Daryl's been a known commodity on this field for a long time. Mark Ranger actually introduced him to me. Real pleasure to work with, and very happy that he's going to be here in the building. So we're recommending approval and happy to answer any questions.
Motion to approve the lease agreement with High Wing Flight Training as presented. Mr. Boss, second by Mr. Whitmore. Any questions, comments for
He'll be a good tenant.
I guess he's been around here since he was a kid.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Tell Daryl we said that.
He has been.
Any other questions? Any questions for? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the lease agreement with Highway and Flight Training as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Next one.
All right, next up, we have our annual license agreement with the Indian River Company LLC. You'll know some honey bottles. You all made a comment last year, but you didn't receive any, so you have them now. This is with Jason and Nicole Ward, who have been an absolute pleasure to work with. Again, they're temporary use of the property on the north and south side of Space Coast. The term of the agreement is for 12 months with a license fee of $1,100 for the annual use of the property. Obviously, we've had no issues with the Ward family and recommend approval.
Motion to approve the agreement with Indian River Honey. Mr. Voss, second.
I'll say.
All right. Second, Mr. Butler. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh,
Unrelated. Are we still getting money from the palm berries?
oh, yeah, that's right.
We
We
got,
did, yeah.
we got a few $100 this year. The
Yeah, it wasn't
the harvest
much.
was really bad. The price of the crop was really low this year.
We will do anything for money here.
So if that continues,
Yes, sir.
just curious.
Thank you. Any other questions? Nope. All in favor of the license agreement with Indian River Honey Company, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and motion passes 6-0. Travis.
All right, next up, Mr. Chairman, we have your annual Board of Directors officers positions.
Adam, how do we do this?
The personnel manual and our policy manual has no clear direction other than that you have to elect officers. I think what we've done is taken nominations from the floor essentially, and then voted on those. You can do that with chair and vice chair together. I guess treasurer and secretary then either can do it by vote or appointment, but it's however you'd like to do it. Nominations from the floor or how we traditionally.
Who's not here?
Right here, this guy. Treasurer, secretary, and vice chairman Granger is not here today.
There's also a new guy too.
All right, the floor is open for any nominations for any of the positions, all the positions, slate as presented, slate with the exclusions.
The only thing I would offer for the treasurer position, especially with the pay apps that we have coming up, we need to make sure that someone's here because we're talking about doing weekly pay apps to keep the numbers down. So that's our only request for treasurer. Yes, sir.
You're here.
So our officers as they exist are John as chairman, Don as
Don's
vice
vice.
chair, Al as treasurer, and I'm the secretary.
Press on.
Yeah.
No, hold on. You actually, Jessica was the secretary.
Oh, he was the secretary.
Yeah, so currently we do not.
That was like a volunteer.
I was, hey, remember I gave it to her.
You did. Yeah, that didn't take long at all.
I think we ought to stay.
You want the job again, John, as chair?
I am more than happy to, but it's, yeah, I do not, it's not a personal, thing. So somebody, I'm always for somebody else taking
Taking the reins?
the reins.
How about you, John? Do you want to be chair?
He does such a nice
Yeah,
job.
that's a
Why
good
would he
job.
want to screw it up?
Exactly.
Well, I nominate John Craig be the chair. Done deal, huh?
Wait, Adam, is that for the whole slate or that's just?
That's for you, but you can press on or you can vote one at a time. It's however you'd like to do
We'll
it.
press on. It's a motion for a vice chair.
I nominate Don as vice chair.
You would fly together.
Motion and a second. So that's on the table and treasurer, we know Al's good for that. Secretary is the last thing.
I nominate Brad.
I talked to Kevin today and I said, I have been told to reel it in a little bit. I'm spread a little too thin. So let me pass on it this time, maybe next time around. When my one settles down.
I nominate Mark Granger for.
All right, Adam, how do we vote individually on those?
You do not. You can vote on those as a slate since you don't have any other nominations anyway.
Are there any other nominations for any of those positions with a second? Hearing none, we'll vote on the slate as presented. All in favor of the slate as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it passes 6-0.
Congratulations, everyone.
Baddest election ever.
Commander recount. All right, Kevin, update, please.
Okay, moving along, I put together a Director of Airports update for you all, highlighted some recent business development needs. I tell you, 2025 is going great thus far. The phone is ringing off the hook right now. MAG Aerospace, if y'all didn't have a chance to peruse this, they're now managing a couple Global Expresses that need a home in and out of here for maintenance. So we're working with them on that. We had some meetings with North Brevard Economic Development Zone along with Space Florida. So we're putting together a potential funding and incentive opportunities for them. Health First, they're interested in placing 2 helicopters up here. Currently, their fleet is in Melbourne, but they said 70% of their calls are in North Brevard. So they're in that magic hour. So they really want to be up here. Matter of fact, I talked to them this morning, and they want to move forward with a lease on a temporary facility here. So we're going to work with them on that. Working with Milo at SpaceX, they need some temporary vehicle parking. So I suspect we're going to bring that back to the board, a license agreement with them maybe next month.
Or the Starship.
I think just cars to start with. Been working with Carson and Wendy on a potential new FBO building. As you know, with the new Glen launch, we received a lot of VIP traffic through here. Carson and Wendy, I'm going to talk about them like they're not in the room. They've done a great job managing their facility and taking care of the customers, but it's time for them to have some more space. And then, Roger and I have flown around the state looking at other FBO buildings. So we're working with our engineer on some potential conceptual layouts that we'll be presenting to them and see if we can get any funding. We talked about that. Yep, absolutely.
Serious.
Yep, so much. We did.
You know, I am.
That's when we talked about having the building plus some layout space for a restaurant. I mean, shoot, we went to Ocala for lunch a month or so ago. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. So, and Sebring too. So yeah, been on the tour in the Mooney. Bishop Aerospace, they're Miami-based 145 repair station. They're actually in an industrial park in Miami. Desperately want to be airside. They have a 757 that's out in Arizona. They want to use that as a test platform. Very interested in coming here. Also working with Tom Brandon with Brandon Development Enterprises. They looking for some high-end box hangers here. So we have a meeting with them on January 28th. So he said it's going great. I'm very excited. This is the sort of stuff I absolutely love. Community outreach, the election is over. Of course, we have a new mayor here on the front row, Mayor Connors. I've been using this opportunity to meet with the new elected officials. So met with Mayor Connors, also met with Vice Mayor Herman Cole. Actually went to his house, which I thought was going to be weird, but it wasn't. So it's two great guys, business minded. Really appreciate that. Myself and Don introduced ourselves to Commissioner Delaney a couple weeks ago at the zone board meeting. I have a meeting with her to kind of sit down, introduce myself, start a relationship with her. That meeting is next Tuesday. I've also outreached to new Congressman Herdiopoulos. Of course, I've worked with him a little bit through Robin Fisher. I guess Governor DeSantis announced that the Attorney General is going to be Senator Rubio's replacement. So once she gets settled in, we'll start working with her as well. So all the elected officials. So it's a good time to do it. Get our name out there. I know My wife and I live in Melbourne, and I'm just so tired of people thinking that I work at Melbourne Airport, no matter how many times I tell them I do not. So that's my goal for 2025. I included some upcoming industry events and training opportunities that we're going to be attending. Obviously, the stuff in Orlando, SpaceCom, the Florida Airports Council State Fly-In. It's been a few years since I've been to that. It's up in Tallahassee. We'll be meeting with the state representatives. Christy's going to go to the EEE Finance and Admin Conference that's here in Florida. And then we're also going to attend the FA Southern Annual Conference. I don't know how that got out there. And then put together some what I thought were good metrics for FY24 and 25. I don't know if y'all had time to review it, but definitely working towards the finish line on our master plans, emphasis on site readiness and infrastructure, like Don and I talked about. I'm working with Whitebird Law already on finalizing our principal guiding documents, so we get a pretty good chunk of that underway. It basically focused on airfield infrastructure and preservation, which is big. We talked about our upcoming projects. A lot of those are airside, but we also need to look at landside aesthetics as well. I think we've done a really good job here with signage and cleaning stuff up and landscaping, but we need to focus on Arthur Dunn and Merritt Island as well. As part of the runway project at Merritt Island, we're going to be improving that north side parking lot, but the south side is rough. So we're going to be talking to FDOT in our gaming meeting about getting some money for that. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah. And then continue, fortifying our relationships with our funding partners, FAA, FDOT, Space Florida, the zone. I talk to them every week, whether they want to talk to me or not. They need to know what's going on here. We need to have constant, regular communication with them, which we do, and they're very happy. We're doing all the right things. We're doing our quarterly reports, our grant drawdowns. We're meeting with them. They're very happy. And then, again, enhancing and diversifying our revenue opportunities, which I think we've done a really strong job at. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Do you have any questions?
Just a clarification on the Health First helicopters. Did I read that they're going to have like a residence up here, hot room for crews?
Yeah, it'll be temporary crew quarters.
What's that going to be?
Honestly, it'll probably be temporary, so it'll be some sort of trailer or something like that with a some sort of tent just to keep the or temporary facility to keep the aircraft or helicopters out of the elements. But they're very interested in our new Northeast corporate hangar. So they want a long-term commitment here, and we want to have them up here. That's huge to have a community medevac here. Yep.
Yeah, you better.
Sounds really good. How about some of the other things that are going on, like the two fly? What's the status on it?
Adam, you want to give a update?
I think we'll wait till we get to the attorney.
Okay.
I'll let him handle it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but we'll let him.
And then we've got another tenant that's been notified,
Yes, sir.
and that's Adam as well.
Yeah, I would say, we're not just sitting around waiting. We're looking at some options and what we need to do, focus on Merritt Island for that south side FBO building. We're working on a name for the new FBO, which I don't want to announce right now, but be meeting kind of individually with all the board members to talk about that. Putting some plans together for that facility and some possible upcoming facilities here as well. So we're not just sitting around waiting for stuff to happen.
And how are we doing on the extension, the road extension?
Challenger Avenue, we are working on the drainage and the drainage, the engineering portion of it. Our plan is to have that project out to bid this spring and construction this fall. So, and then probably a year construction around.
Question. This initial phase of doing the engineering, the packet showed the diagram of the west side of the extension, not the full extension. Is it going to be addressed from the west end first?
Are you talking the roadway?
Yes.
So it'll connect from Challenger Avenue to Grissom,
Right.
and then it'll cross the street and basically go on that west side. It'll allow them to develop about 200,000 square feet of building on the west side of Grissom.
Right. And what was in the packet didn't show the entire extension. that showed 3/4 of it or whatever.
Oh,
So
okay.
my question was, are they going to address the west side,
Yes.
which is depicted initially,
Yes,
and work their way east?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
got it.
Any other questions? The only thing I'll say is that I think maybe many of you remember every year we do our annual evaluations of Kevin in July. We've asked for metrics, so Kevin and I talked about these, or talked about that at some length. And so I'd ask that you kind of file those away and take a look at them as we do each meeting. And if you have questions, so that when we get to July, you've got some meat to look at and see some specifics on how we can evaluate Kevin's progress on these metrics, realizing we're about 6 months out from that position right now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, Justin?
Project updates. Just talked about Challenge Avenue Extension. They started geotech work last week, and they're doing a little additional survey and moving along. 1836 construction. We initially thought that this was going to start construction in February. We met with the contractor yesterday. We're going to probably wait till April or May to start construction on 1836 because of the gopher tortoises. Excavation, the easiest way to get the most cost-effective way is to get a bucket trap, use a bucket trap to capture the gopher tortoise, and there's restrictions on temperature, so you can't have any days with the bucket traps out less than 50 degrees. So we're gonna wait a little bit for springtime to get all the gopher tortoises and start construction. Tower, working on utility easements. The contractor set up a staging area. They put up silt fence a couple weeks ago. It's moving along. Marketing project. They're actually probably still out there painting right now. It's gonna go on for the next 2 weeks. It's gonna go along pretty quick. So it's kind of nice. Everything looks nice and crisp and clean.
Stay off the markings.
Yeah, don't taxi on the market. Let's go around.
Don't be rude.
Northeast corporate hangar design project. We should have the 30% drawings in February, so that is moving along as well. Merritt Island rehab. We just received the 60% design drawings. We're currently reviewing them. Noise complaints. Merritt Island just in December we had 18, all from the same person.
They don't get it.
And like it. That's all right. Hey, not everybody likes airplane noise. Arthur averaged in December 60 operations a day. Space Coast 216, and then Merritt Island 248. Just want to go over a few little things that we've been working on for a little while. We've recently replaced the entire wall of purlings at the skydive hangar. Picture up top there is kind of what they look like. So that's it's still ongoing. We still have to put the gutter back up and fix some stuff on the roof. The runway 15 Pappy that was hit by an aircraft earlier last year. It's in. We're just waiting on the FAA to flight check it, and then it'll be back in service. We're also replacing a lot of corroded fixtures on the airfield. Arthur Dunn has the oldest airfield fixtures, so they're just starting to slowly rust away, and we've been popping those out, replacing them as they fall over. Here at Space Coast, this is Suite 4 right here. We just got carpet. They just finished that yesterday. They painted and put all new lighting in. We put new lighting in here too. That's nice and bright. Except for this one. Yeah, except for that one.
Can't win, man. Just can't win.
LED.
Oh, no,
I was waiting for
It's
that.
LED.
There we go. You teed that right up.
Look at waterboard. Be right back.
We replaced one bifold motor opener. We've done new lights also in the public bathrooms here. And then T9 is getting a new electrical panel installed. It was originally scheduled for the 30th of this month, but FPL had to push it till the 11th next month for full meter. While they work on it. Merritt Island rehab 2 T hangers after move outs. We repaired the north ramp lighting. And we also, they rehabbed the south entry gate, put new rollers on it, straightened it out. It runs a lot better, doesn't hang up anymore. Yes, sir.
That south entry gate, have you done anything with the time it takes? to
Yeah,
close?
they've shortened it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It stays open, people
Yeah.
just drive through.
Yeah, it was like 30 seconds. Now it should be 8 seconds. Just want to highlight too, on our website on flyspacecoast.org, you can now submit a request for T-hanger maintenance. Just click on that, it brings up a full form, send it to us, and then we issue a work order and get it out to the guys to do work.
Or you send out something to the team and your
Yep.
tenants, so they know this.
Yep, we can do that. That's all I got. Any questions?
On weather reporting, we don't have an automatic weather reporting station on TIX, do we? It's just by the tower.
No, it flips over to the automated system after the tower closes.
FlightAware must not be able to pick that up.
No, it's an older system, so it does not connect to the internet. Arthur Dunn and Merritt Island do, and actually, they just came out and fixed Merritt Island again today, so it's back online. It was out for a couple weeks, not the AWAS itself, but
Now, our new tower will have the equipment that will go, or is
no, because we have to buy a whole new AWAS, but that one's getting kind of old, so we'll be asking for a new one in the coming years. The wind sensor's out on it right now, and just to give you an idea of what the costs, the wind sensor is about $15,000 replaced, so we just had to order one of those.
Rob, there's another AWAS project. Right
Questions?
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Our director of finance said, had some personal, things she had to attend to, so, with the board's permission, I'd like to move, those reports till the next meeting. And I know you've all had a chance to review everything in the packet. If there's any questions or things that need to be addressed immediately, is there anything that you can ask that needs to be directed? Towards the director. All right, thank you for that. Bird.
Evening again. To Roger's question, there's a hearing scheduled in bankruptcy matter that Health International Group filed on February 20th. Authority has retained bankruptcy counsel, another law firm, really it's my law firm. I'll do bankruptcy work. So I have had discussions with bankruptcy counsel about factual background, why we are where we are, and what our goals are. And this is, I'm assured, the fastest path forward to doing what we want to do, which is to proceed, finalize the eviction so that we can get a new tenant in. It's sort of a nuanced issue, and I think a bankruptcy specific issue, what the hearing is about. But the outcome should go a long way if it's favorable to us to getting us where we need to go, which is to be able to again proceed with getting back possession of the property. So can answer specific questions, maybe, at least try to, but that's February 20th in Orlando. Sure.
So what happens with the rent? Does it get stayed or?
It will. So there's actually two tranches of what we'll call it held rent that exist right now. There were several payments. We got some of it out. There were several payments made to the court registry here in state court before the bankruptcy was filed. But once bankruptcy is filed, there's a fairly broad stay that's imposed on pretty much anything that has to do with, that could affect the bankrupt parties or the filing parties' financial estate. And so we can't go after that money right now. Court is just sitting there in the court registry. I don't know if they've paid it to the court registry beyond the filing for bankruptcy. It's only been a couple of months. They filed in November. I doubt it. But that I assume will be addressed by the bankruptcy court. And on top of that, one of the things they're asking, and I think one of the key issues to be addressed at the February 20th hearing, as I understand it, they're calling it a trial, just so you know, is there's been a request by the tenant to assume the lease. And it's a bankruptcy specific request. It actually doesn't make any sense to me as a civil litigator. But that is what they've asked. I don't think they're going to get it, but if they do, as part of that, they have to cure the defaults. So all of the rent that's due.
Who wants to assume the lease?
Islands International.
But they're the big party that's bankrupt.
That's correct.
And do they have other LLCs in there, like they're sub-leasing?
According to the bankruptcy schedules, the only assets they disclosed were about $35,000 in cash. The liabilities were a $200,000 judgment in our favor. We don't have any such judgment, and a $26,000 shareholder loan.
Aren't there more corporations involved or LLCs involved?
As far as ownership goes,
No, as far as people in the building. Isn't there?
well,
Like
two
Buzz, like Buzz Airways or whatever.
Yeah, I thought that there was,
in what?
different LLCs that were operating within the building.
That's possible, but there are only 10 now.
Right, but if they're operating in the building, so they're like subleasing, or do we allow subleasing?
All subleases are supposed to come before the authority for approval. If they've not been approved by the authority, then they are not valid subleases.
Do we need to see about evicting those people?
Well, the eviction of the existing tenant will, it
I
has the
understand
domino
it.
effect. We could, sure, we could.
Because they're over there using the facility, right?
Our attorney, get him to assign the rentals to us. Rental income.
Again, there's nothing I can do against, it's a good question. There's nothing we can do in bankruptcy against Islands International until the issue's resolved. So they were paying rent. We, through October, June, July, whatever the month we got it released, because we have to go to the court every time to get an order to get it released. We've been paid in full by the tenant. It was, once they declared bankruptcy, we can't take the money anymore. Some of it's, as I mentioned, still sitting there. So there may be something we can do there, but that's a question really for our Frank Wolf, who's our bankruptcy counsel, because even addressing, so for instance, if those subtenants are paying money to Islands International, and that's part of their revenue, then we probably can't do anything about their occupancy today without violating the stay. And that's not to say you can't file a motion for relief from the bankruptcy stay. We do that all the time. But as I understand from Frank, this is the fastest path forward to a more definitive resolution.
I just didn't know if they're there and we didn't, and we're maybe ignoring them because we're over here and they're.
This is very unusual for me. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. So, but this is bankruptcy, as I'm told. The other thing to mention, and unfortunately, and without relish, we did file for eviction against Space Perspective on Tuesday. So they're trying to reach out. I know they've been in communication with Kevin. He's directed them to me. I will speak with them as they contact me. I don't know what their interest is, but obviously that's a board decision. That's not a bird decision, but I'm happy to talk with them and find out what they propose, and I can bring it to the board as I've done historically, but we did proceed. We were without an option at this point. And I'll just say for the record, as much as we may like our tenants, we don't have a choice under federal regulations. We have to treat them all equally, and we can't be a joint venture with any of our tenants. We have to move forward when they don't comply with their contract, or we can be in hot water with the FAA for not enforcing our contract agreements. And I won't get further than that, but this is not a private landlord with the, absolute discretion to say, I'll let that go. We really don't have that right, unfortunately. So I think Kevin works well within the bounds to try to work with our tenants and recognizes the relationships we've had, particularly with longer standing tenants. But at some point, the rubber meets the road, and whether we're there, obviously we think we are, we'll bring whatever we can to the board if that's possible, but I can't make any promises. That's just what we do.
So we filed an eviction notice. That means they have how many days to move out?
We're waiting for the summons right now, but it's a 5-day summons, so they have 5 days to respond. Your question is difficult to answer because it depends on how they respond. Same with Highlands International. We ended up going to a trial, as you'll recall, on the issue of possession. The issues here are a little simpler, a little more finite, so I don't think it would take that long, but I don't know. We'll move it as quickly as we can.
As we go through the litigation with both of them, do the monies that they owe us, they accrue towards the end? I mean, if it's gonna go on for a while, are they getting free rent or are they paying, and it's gonna go into an escrow of some sort?
With the exception of the bankruptcy issue, which there's a wrench in it, it's required that you pay the disputed amount of rent and the rent that comes due as you litigate the case, as long as you remain in possession of the property. That's chapter 83 of Florida statutes, and that's in our leases. So the answer is yes, we do get the money into the court registry, and then we have been successful in getting it out, which is great because it protects us. It gets a little dicier when they leave and then they have no incentive to pay rent. They don't. And then you get a money judgment, but then you have to collect it, which can sometimes be tricky. Most of the time when tenants had any money to pay a judgment, they would pay their rent. So.
So we've issued an eviction notice on the corner building.
All of
It
it.
was all three leaseholds.
Now the tent is a land lease and they own the tent.
Well, it was part of the whole One Bristow Way lease agreement. But yeah, that was their improvement that they made to the property.
They will be removed when they're gone.
If you want
Starting to look
to.
pretty-
We were talking about that a lot
That's
today.
that's another issue. So I won't go to I'll step my soapbox. Whether it becomes a part of the realty or not is always a question when you're dealing with, whether it's real property, it's an improvement, like a building that becomes part of the realty, whether it's a fixture or a trade fixture, which are treated differently. Here, we don't really have too much of an issue there because both, I think the lease, in talking with Kevin, and there was a request for financing that we subordinated our interest to a UCC 1 financing lien. So there's a first interest holder, the security interest holder ahead of us anyway. But I suspect this was just practical from experience. I suspect that tent may not have much value off of the property. In other words, I don't know if they have to destroy it or damage it in order to take it off the property to move it to someplace else. I don't know what kind of conditions it's in. So it may be advisable, depending on what happens, to see if there's if it gets to the point where we have a new tenant or someone interested in leasing, do they want it? And then we might approach the lien holder and say, how do you want to work this out? They want it, they want to rent it from us, we can lease it to them. We can buy out the interest and lease it to them. I mean, we'll have options. So that's just more of a practical down the road look, just kind of looking at everything. But it really depends upon, is it easy to remove and then go install it someplace else and it's in great condition and it's perfect, in which case the lien holder may want to take it. Or again, is it destroyed when you pick it out? So when you take it from the property, so it'd be worth, $12 if you removed it. I don't know.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Any other issues?
But the lien holder doesn't have a right under the lease, do they?
No, sir.
All right, thanks, Adam. Any reports, any board members have any reports to make or?
Nothing for me.
Nothing?
I have one question. We were talking about new facilities and looking in the future. I don't want to lose track of customs for somewhere down the road.
Yeah, that was one of the conceptual layouts that we did for Carson and Wendy. They were very excited about it. Carson started doing cartwheels.
Get a lot of people at land.
We occasionally, we have people who's asking for custom. And I think it's gonna be more and more frequent as the space tourism and Axiom and all that stuff, as it kicks on. I think we'll see foreigners coming over to this area, and it'll be great if we could. There's other airports around us that have custom times, but we could offer a lot for it.
Even our current regulars frequent overseas and are constantly.
You know, the Bahamas, you gotta clear through Melbourne and
Yeah.
get back here.
Which hurts us because then by the time they get to us, we don't get fuel sales.
That's right, they bought the fuel.
Okay, thank you. Time for public comments. First, Mayor Connors, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations. Great to have you here. Is there anything you'd like to say or we'd love to have you?
Yeah, I wasn't planning on speaking, but I know quite a few of you here. So, but for those of you who don't know me, my name's Andrew Connors. I'm really happy and honored to be elected as mayor. And my background is as a business owner, not a politician. So I'm hoping to bring some common sense to government if possible, right? And hopefully cut some red tape and make it easier for business to flourish. So I'm excited about all the things that are happening here at this airport and the ones around the county because things are moving in the right direction. So appreciate it.
So thank you.
Thanks for being. Looking forward to partnering with you and working together. It's exciting stuff. Are there any other members of the public that would like?
I believe Oscar Garcia wanted to brief you on their hangar project.
Yes, yeah, please, thank you. Hi, everyone, Oscar Garcia, Chairman, Interflight Global Corporation, and we're still in January, so Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you. We'd like to share with you some progress we've made on the west side development for our first 15,000 square foot hangar. I'll pass some renderings there, the Chevron structure. And it was a very slow last quarter of last year was probably one of the slowest quarters I've ever seen in my entire career. But as Kevin said, January 6th came and we're looking at a full takeoff roll on a long runway. So I'd like to introduce today three people that will give you an update on what steps we've taken in the development of the land and the facilities. I'll start with my partner, Bruno Duarte, who is the principal of ACMG, financing the project. Then we have Mark Jensen, who is going to say a couple of words on the steps that he's taking for the first hangar. And then on screen, we have Bill Gabler from Embry Development. We'll give you some technical details of what we've done in the last 2 quarters and what we are expecting to do this quarter. So
thank you, Oscar. Bruno Duarte with Alliance Capital. So as Oscar mentioned, we've been focusing on the first 15,000 square foot hangar. We're a little behind schedule, but we recently engaged some third-party service providers, including for geotech, phase 1 environmental, and the survey. I think we did get the phase 1 environmental back already. Lawrence McDonough has been doing a great job, and Mark Jensen's here with us if you want to, maybe update on a few things. And then I have Bill Gabler who can give us more information as well.
Sure, I'll stand up. So hi, I'm Mark Jansen with Burns McDonnell. We're a design and builder over in Orlando and Melbourne. So we do a lot of work in the region, doing some work at MCO, doing some work for the space industry here out of our Melbourne office. So we've been working with the group for since I think the last time I was here when the lease was signed. So we've been working with them on options, and we are kicking off a kind of a due diligence and conceptual design phase. So we're working with possible tenants to design the hangar, design the lean-to offices, and get the site work rolling. So we've been working together, scoping out the geotech, the survey. We'll be asking the city for some data on the water system. So we're finally moving, and I think we're moving in the right direction. If you have any questions, we can answer them with Bill.
Thank you. I don't know if Bill is still here with us by video, but Bill, hi, Bill. Any further updates you want to give the group?
Yes, just we had our meeting, our courtesy meeting with the city of Titusville back in August. And in that time period since then, we've refined our site plan, our flash plan based on their input. We've been refining our budget site plan, which helps us identify a lot of the utilities needed to support that. And we've provided that information to Burns McDonnell, and we're working with them currently to get the program established for meeting the needs of our potential tenants that we've been, that ACM has been courting thus far. We have the survey is probably going to be back to us in 3 weeks. I think the geotech's probably 4 or 5 weeks, but we're looking forward to getting that data in and kicking off with our preliminary drainage analysis and getting the project to have a lot more traction here in 2025. I'm available to address whatever other questions you might have.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the board support on this project. Thank you.
Any other member of the public that would like to comment?
See, I got a quick question. What are they gonna do with the old tower? That's how it's. Oh. You use that for training.
Put it on eBay.
It's gotta go.
It's gotta
Yeah.
go.
Make us an offer, Rod. No, it gets demolished as part of the project.
And, oh, another thing, when do you anticipate that shelter would be gone from Hartford?
Well, they're just terminating their lease agreement, but we're working towards a January 31st closing, so everything will transfer over February 1st. We've had a couple calls with them, another one's tomorrow morning to make sure that everything's tidied up. So we have adult supervision. Christie's involved with it.
Cool. Will everybody that hasn't built their hangar, will they have to sign a new lease?
They'll be notified.
Okay.
The whole pack will be notified. So there should be no questions.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Don White, Merritt Island, EA Young Eagles coordinator and an officer of Arthur Dunn, 866 chapter. We have a lot of activities going on. This Saturday we have a poker run, which we are using all 5 Brevard County public airports as part of the poker run. So that's hopefully the good weather will survive a lot of activity for that. And then next Saturday, the 25th, we're doing our, we do our Young Eagles event. We have, I opened up the registration on Sunday. By Monday, I had 120 kids registered. So there's a lot of requests and I'm getting phone calls. Well, we know that it's filled. Can we come in anyway? So we have a lot of activity and that will be again at the Sammy hangar. We were hoping to use the two-fly hangar, but that's not going to happen this year so far. And so we're going to be having the Sammy hangar and we have all the normal restrictions and the use of the taxiway road in front of Voyager as a taxiway temporarily. And can we get the cones, Justin?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we have another social event at Merritt Island, which is our chili cook-off on the 15th of February.
That thing's rigged.
So there's a winner right over here. So I encourage everybody to participate in that. And if you don't get anything, talk to Kevin. He's very much aware of that.
Yeah, I lost
event.
last year. Yes, man.
You gotta do better. Put more hot stuff in it.
Really? Did you try some of the other two? Come on, man. The whole thing's rigged. Well, they did encourage bribery, if I recall.
Donations never help.
Right.
So I'd like to thank you and appreciate it.
Yeah, let us know if you need anything, Don. Appreciate everything you guys do.
Okay, take care.
Thank you very much for all you do for the community. And here. Anybody else public comment? Hearing none, is there any other business come before the board? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.